Hey, I'm Chris, and this is MMA for You. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC 206, but before I get into that, I'd like to plug a couple things. First will be my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com, and the next thing I'd like to plug is my storytelling slash manga review podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner, which you can find on PodBean, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Links to these will be provided on the description. So, on to this card. Um, well, that for the most part, except for Vivian Pereira versus Valer Latourneau, most fights are really good. This main card is actually a lot of fun. You got a fight of the year with Cub Swanson and Doohoo Choi. You got a knockout of the year with Lando Venata versus John McDessie. Heck, one of the top 10 knockouts here with Donald Cerrone versus Matt Brown. That head kick was pretty cool. I got some prospects moving up. Misha Serkinov, Emil Meek, successful UFC debut. Vivian Pereira, successful UFC debut. Doohoo Choi, despite losing, becoming even more of a fan favorite. Um, let's see, Emil Meek. I said Emil Meek, right? Lando Venata really put his name out there. He already put his name out there with beating Tony Ferguson, but this win just put him over the top. My picks sucked, though, man. I'm not gonna lie. I did some pretty bad picks here. Um, 5 out of 12. Two of them in particular, I was very back and forth with. Serkinov versus Krylov. I knew that Serkinov had the stronger submission ability. I still picked Krylov nonetheless. Olivier Aben Mercier versus Drew Dober. Man, I hate Drew Dober fights, man. I just cannot pick this guy to win. Um, really, yeah, I cannot pick Drew Dober to win a fight. That guy is really hot or really cold. And actually, this fight kind of showed it, too. Drops the dude, goes to the ground, gets reversed, gets subbed. It's like he's hot and he's cold. You know, so opposites here. Vivian Pereira versus Val Latourneau. Didn't expect that. I actually didn't expect Emil Meek versus Jordan Mean. And what's kind of funny about those fights is he had a UFC newcomer versus a veteran. That's reached a pretty high watermark in their careers. And what's really interesting about those two, the veterans, Mean and the Tornu, is like they seem to have just stopped fighting or something after the first round. It's like, wow, Valor Tornu looks like she's got this. Took Pereira down, ground and pounded her. Looked good. Okay, first round. First round looks good, and then like as the rounds got later, is like, man, she looks terrible. This is not the person that fought Joanna and Jacek. Then Jordan Mean, first round, it's like, oh, he's hitting his combinations, he's slipping. Okay, he got hit here and there, but it's like, okay, he was taking Meek down continuously. Okay, cool. Jordan Mean, he keeps looking like this. At least for one more round, he's going to win the fight if it goes to decision. Then the next 2 rounds, he stopped fighting. He just like no sense of urgency from these two, and it was just weird. It was just weird. With those two. Uh, Lopez versus Gang, I missed that one. Lopez versus Gagnon. Really underestimated Lopez. That was also like a prospect versus veteran too. Really missed out on that one. So, couple upsets here and there. I always hate doing bad picks, to be honest with you. Um, but it does give chance for analysis and whatnot. So and actually, before we get started, bonuses. Performance of the night went to Lando Venata and Max Holloway. Fight of the night, heck, fight of the year, Cub Swanson versus Doohoo Choi. Okay, in the main event, Max Holloway defeated Anthony Pettis by TKO in the third round. So Pettis broke his right hand in the first round. Holloway, for the most part, despite that, still outboxed Pettis, I felt. One thing about Pettis, he's just not that good at boxing range. He's not a good boxer. He doesn't have great hands. He is primarily a kicker. And he has a crafted ground game, too, when he wants to show it off. He has one of the better chins, too, so this is actually really surprising that to me at least, that Holloway was the first to stop Pettis. I mean, I shouldn't say really surprising because I actually said on like the predictions that like Holloway chips away and eventually might be able to stop Pettis that way. So, and that's kind of what happened. He was just chipping away, and then he stopped him later. That's what Holloway does really well. I mean, he could get the one punch knockouts or the quick knockouts, depending on his level of competition. But like, for the most part, he's more volume than power. I've always felt he's always been more of a volume guy than power guy. One thing about Pettis too, man, this guy is a confidence built fighter, and once you break his confidence, he is just done. Like he looked good in the first round. I mean, he was throwing some like crazy kicks, looking all flashy and whatnot. And as the rounds went on later, he's trying to go for the takedowns. Seemed a bit desperate, He's trying to force things to happen. Like, he's pressuring Holloway, but it just kind of seemed like he's forcing things to happen. Um, and also, one thing that was mentioned too was like with Pettis, there's a lot of film out with this guy out there now, and it seems like everyone who beats Pettis seems to have followed some form of game plan to do so. You know, whether it's grind him against the cage, um, y- you know, beat him up, get in boxing range and get away from his kicks, uh, just stuff like that. Um, it just seems like I mean, you have to be pretty elite to be able to do that, though. Like Barboza, Holloway, Eddie Alvarez. It's going to take some pretty elite guys to do that. But the fact of the matter is, this might indicate that Pettis is indeed not elite anymore. Hate to say it, is he just hasn't been looking that good lately. And it seems like the book's been written on him, and certain guys who game plan right can beat him, and guys who don't, or just don't have the skills to, don't beat him. And like I said, even with the broken right hand, I still can't help but feel that Holloway was still going to win the fight. I mean, he said that after the first punch, so I, I don't know. I still favored Holloway nonetheless. Um, Holloway called out Jose or Jose. I don't know if he actually called him Jose. I think he called him Jose. Jose Waldo. Hashtag where's Jose Waldo? Because he can't seem to find the guy. Calling him out for UFC Brooklyn. What's that, like February or something like that? Sounds cool. I think that might be the Super Bowl card. That'd be fun. You know, I think if anyone's gonna beat Jose Waldo, it's gonna be Max Holloway at this point. I mean, McGregor did it, but Holloway might be able to do it too. This sounds like Anthony Pettis is moving back up to 155. It's a much different place than when he last left it. Obviously, Conor McGregor is the champion. The guy who beat Pettis, one of the guys who beat Pettis, Rafael dos Anjos, is actually on a losing streak now. Lost to Tony Ferguson, who's now up there, along with like Habib Nurmagomedov still up there, and those two are like the two guys that are probably gonna fight. Not probably. Well, I feel have the most merit to fight like Conor McGregor next. So it's a much different place than when he last left it. So it's gonna be interesting. And 155 is tough. Pettis moves back up there. Guys coming off losses, that'd be fun fights for Pettis. Dustin Poirier, I think would be really fun. Um, Michael Johnson, well, that'd also be pretty fun as well. Next fight after that, Donald Cerrone defeated Matt Brown by knockout, head kick in the third round. This was a fun fight. Would have been fight of the night had Choi versus Swanson not happened. Cerrone, are you really, if Lando Venata didn't get his kick, his own like spin kick, then Cerrone, this head kick would have probably gotten a performance of the night. Arguably, it probably should have got a performance tonight over Holloway, but um, it's arguable. Nonetheless, both got dropped, um, which, uh, both these guys are really tough, too. Uh, Matt Brown probably took like four of those head kicks before he ducked into that last one that knocked him out. Interesting strat. Cerrone was aiming for the body early on. Matt Brown, son, put his right elbow down, and then it opened up the head kick. One thing that Cerrone was doing was jabbing a lot. He was actually boxing a lot with Matt Brown, and Matt Brown was actually able to get the looping overhand rights against Cerrone pretty well for the most part. One thing that Cerrone did that was pretty bad when he was boxing was that he didn't always have an exit strategy, and I think that's actually why he got dropped that one time. He'd jab or throw a combination with just his hands, and then he'd just kind of stand there. I always talk about the exit strategy, but when you watch guys who get dropped from getting countered, it's due to having like a poor exit strategy, like a lot of times, or just none. Um, that seemed to happen to Cerrone here when he got dropped, but he still managed to get back. Matt Brown even got a pretty good triangle choke too. That was pretty incredible. I was actually kind of surprised because I thought Cerrone was just going to be that much better on the ground than Matt Brown. You gotta say this was one of Matt Brown's best performances as of late. He's been kind of hot and cold, uh, but he looked good here. He looked really good. Um, Nonetheless, I mean, Donald Cerrone has finished the last three opponents with strikes. The other thing about that makes it incredible is like it was like Cote, who I don't think up until that point has been finished by strikes. I'm trying to think. He almost did against Lester Sakara, but then he got all those hits in the back of the head. And then he's gotten subbed. And then he got that knee injury against Anderson Silva. But I don't think he's ever been finished by strikes. And the same with Rick Story. I don't think he's been finished by strikes. He got subbed. And now Matt Brown, he got finished by strikes in his last fight. This is the first time that he ever got like knocked out cold though. So with that said, I mean Cerrone's up there. What can you say? He's actually the guys that are above him are like Stephen Thompson, Damian Maya, and like Condit, I think. Maybe I forgot where Robbie Lawler is. Maybe Robbie. No, I think Cerrone is like number 5. So maybe Robbie Lawler's above him. I'm not too sure. I should check the rankings again. This guy wants to fight a lot, though. I mean, maybe you can go title eliminator, Maya versus Cerrone. Um, the fight I'd like to see though is a guy that's like two, three, like ranks below him. Cerrone versus Larkin, man, that's a fun fight. That's one I'd like to see. Cerrone versus Robbie Lawler would be cool too. You can also go Cerrone versus the winner of Hendricks versus Magny. I think that'd be pretty fun as well. for the most part. Matt Brown, give him some mid-level guy. I mean, honestly, so don't give him a top 10 guy. Yeah, keep him. I think he's on a really bad losing streak though, but he's still having good fights. So give him like just like the most like mid-level guy you can find. You know, like because it just seems like they're giving him like nothing but tough, top 15. Even though I did expect Brown to beat Jake Ellenberger, and Ellenberger just body kicked him to oblivion. um, Next fight after that, Cub Swanson defeated Dooho Choi by unanimous decision. Crazy fight, man. I picked Choi here. Swanson ended up winning. Prospect versus veteran, which was quite a theme for this night. Um, the thing with Dooho Choi is when he's pushing forward, he's able to land up right hand. He had a good jab, a good right hand. He's actually pretty good in clinch too. He's actually getting able to get the dumps on Cub Swanson. Like his takedown defense didn't look that bad. His scrambling didn't look that bad. But man, does Choi have some bad, like bad habits and bad defense? I mean, one thing is when this guy moves backwards, he's terrible. I mean, just absolutely terrible. I mean, he moves back in a straight line. His chin is always up. And he can't seem to really counter or do much as he's moving backwards. Some guy, I mean, it's a hard skill. One of the one guy that's really good at it just won the title, though, Max Holloway's able to do it. Choi is not. And his defense is just bad. I mean, that guy he cannot defend an overhand to save his life. And the way he fight, the way his stance is, especially with his chin so high, he is so susceptible to those looping punches. The chins from both of these guys, just crazy. Insane. I mean, the resilience is just nuts. Swanson is just so game. I mean, this guy, there's not like one skill about Swanson that like striking. I mean, striking is actually pretty good. Wrestling, grappling, clinch, or whatever, It's just gameness and toughness. He's just a guy that is always in the fight, And he has developed veteran savvy. He is fearless. Like, he got hit with some hard shots. He got wobbled, and he is still pushing forward. So, that's the thing with Swanson. I mean, he is real tough. I think he's on a 3-fight win streak now, right? Yeah. He's on like a 3-fight win streak. Like pretty good competition too. Like Kawajiri, one dude from Nova Union who's Hakra Diaz, and Dooho Choi. Solid guys. Beat all three of those guys. And a fight of the year here. Dooho Choi though, I mean he lost, but like. He probably gained more from the loss in a sense because like it seems like he's quite a fan favorite. I mean, he was getting a lot of cheers. As the fight went on, people were cheering for him. When the fight ended, people were cheering for him. And then hopefully he learns from this too because he very much is a prospect, and he makes a lot of prospect mistakes or just has like some skills that are very prospect-like. It's like he moves forward. Maybe he expects his opponents to just fall down and lose. And this guy, Cub Swanson, didn't want to just fall down for him like every time he got touched. He he obviously wobbled / dropped him, but he was still there. And for a prospect, it's very hard to deal with, I like Choi's post-fight interview though. You know, it's like, so this is what it feels like to lose. I'm gonna keep training so I don't lose again. It's like, okay, that's a good mentality to have. Um, with that said, as far as rankings go, fight that actually makes the most sense, I think, would probably be Swanson rematching with Ricardo Lamas. They're both close. They're both top five, and they're both like as close as they can be in the rankings. But they both lost to Holloway. Um, yeah, you know, there aren't too many. I mean, unless Swanson wants to go backwards, I think like he can fight like Bermudez is fighting someone, but he hasn't fought like Bermudez yet. Who else hasn't he fought? Like Kevin Swanson's fought like everyone in this division, you know. Dude, Choi. I mean, I know he's coming off a win, but maybe Barao. Honestly, it's a name. Or a guy who is coming off a win. Andre Feely versus Doo Choi would be pretty cool too. There's other good fights for Doo Choi. Heck, he can fight T City. That'd be cool. Um, if you want to give him someone pretty high up there, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing to do. So, just good fights for Doo Choi. Next round after that, Kelvin Gastelum defeated Tim Kennedy by TKO in the third round. Um, thankfully, I actually picked Kelvin Gastelum to win this one. He actually won in a way I thought he would win too. So that was nice to see. I expected Tim Kennedy to be relentless about his takedowns. I said in the predictions, this guy is dogged about getting his takedowns. The biggest problem is his striking's alright, you know, but it's not great. He kind of lunges. And the other problem is, too, is I've seen this with Kennedy a bunch of times. Well, not a bunch of times, but, like, it was really bad here. He is so dogged about, like, his takedowns and whatnot that, like, he just gassed him. It looks like he gassed himself out, and he hasn't been fighting, you know, for the last 2 years, you know? So, um, it just cost him. You know, at that first round, I mean, he was like kind of selling out on like this body lock from the back, and looking to like the other thing with Kennedy, and maybe I didn't notice it before, but it looks like he was really muscling his takedowns here. I mean, it was just like, you know, rear waist lock and really trying to force the fight to the ground. He had a single and he was just trying to throw him to the ground, and it just did not work. You know, later on, Gastelum showed good takedown defense and good ability to get back to his feet when he was taken down. Near the end of the first round, he was getting the better of Tim Kennedy on the feet, showing to be the much better boxer. And then once the second round and the third round came, all Gastelum defending takedowns quite easily and just beating up Tim Kennedy on the feet, showing a really good jab. And Joe Rogan actually posted a really good question here with Gaslam. Does he stay at 185, or does he try and go back to 170? Personally, I do think he's undersized at 185. I think that the skill level of welterweights is better than guys at 185. But of course, guys at 185 are freaking huge. There are like guys that fight at 185, not just like Vitor. I mean, there's others too that have fought as high as heavyweight. You know, that that's eventually going to play a factor. I think, because just from a height perspective, I mean, guess I'm not like that small against Tim Kennedy though. But I can't help but feel that someone's gonna overpower him, you know, and then he's gonna have to kind of reach to really hit guys in the face against guys at 185. Skill wise though, and technique wise, Gaslam is probably gonna be a lot better technically than a good amount of middleweights. Like I said, this is the division with the mid-tier purgatory, where it's just these guys in the mid-tier that can beat each other, but they can't beat like top 15 guys, you know? Gaslam could probably get out of there and get into that top 15, if not the top 10, just with his skill set. Um, if Gaslam stays at 185, I think he should fight top 15 guys. I think he should. He's already beaten Marquardt at 185, and then he beat Tim Kennedy at 185. Those are big wins, actually, in that weight class, you know? Gaslam should get like Boach, who's coming off a win over Natal, or Krzysztof Jotko, who's coming off a really good win over Talis Leites. At 170, I mean, there's no shortage of fights for him, you know. He's fought a good amount of guys, but you know, there's like guys coming up too. Dong Hyun Kim is there. Gunnar Nelson's coming up. Cerrone. I mean, he was supposed to fight Cerrone. Cerrone versus Gaslam would be cool. Gaslam Larkin would be cool. And you can go like Gaslam Masvidal. That would be cool too, you know? So, you know, there's a lot of good fights for him at 170. Tim Kennedy, man. Wow. Fell off there a bit. Talis Leites wouldn't be a bad matchup for Tim Kennedy next. Derek Brunson. I think they might train together though. So I don't know if they're gonna go that direction, but I think that would be a good fight for him. Who else? Yeah, just like one of those two would be pretty good for Tim Kennedy. So right after that, Emil Meek defeated Jordan Mein by unanimous decision. I already talked about it before, but man, did Jordan Mein just stop fighting at that first round. I don't know what happened. It just seemed like he's hitting his combinations Meek, or is it Mech? I'm going to call him Mech, because everyone calls him Mech. I should also call him Techno Viking, because he looks like one. But, you know, it's taken him down the first round, and it's like he couldn't put him away, and so he just stopped fighting at the second, third round or something like that. It's very odd. Emil Mack, he's tough, really strong and aggressive, and he wrestles pretty well too. He is able to, I'd say it's more grinding than anything else. Grind out the last two rounds and get the win. It's a good introduction for Emil Mack. I don't really know how far he's going to get up in the division. I think he's not a bad prospect. Strong as heck. Tough as heck, you know. And that alone could take him pretty far. Jordan Mein should probably retire, because if he's going to look like that, I mean, that's not... If you're just gonna, like, kind of give up, you know, after, like, one round of fighting, I don't know if the UFC is the right place to be. You know what I mean? It's like, because that can get dangerous in a hurry, you know, against a guy that wants to knock your head off. So, I don't know what happens to him next. Maybe some lower tier guys, I don't know. Emil Mack, some just more lower to mid tier guys in the division. He's fun. Has a good push fight in Ritu. So yeah. Okay, on the FS1 prelims, Misha Serkinov defeated Nikita Krylov by sub in the first round. Strong win for Serkinov, and he's pretty much, in my opinion, him and Corey Anderson are probably the two best prospects in the division right now. I actually like Serkinov a little better as a prospect than Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson's more of an all-rounder, whereas Serkinov's more of a specialist that's building upon everything else. Like, Serkinov's ground game and his chokes are just insane. Nikita Krylov really impressed me here, though. I'm not gonna lie. He actually keeps impressing me. You know, he took down Serkinov at one point, but got reversed. or got swept. But he was scrambling well. I actually expected that to happen too. I expected him to get taken down and scramble back to his feet, and he actually did that. But then he got hit hard with a shot, went for like a sloppy desperation takedown, and got guillotine choked. Um, but like I said, I think Krylov's still improving. He, like I said, he didn't do that bad against Misha Sergenov, and it was actually a pretty fun fight, eh, all the way through. Um, it wasn't that sloppy or anything like that. Both these guys, good prospects for the division, for sure. Misha Sergenov is a little farther ahead at this point. Striking looks to be a little more improved. Little by little, his striking keeps improving. He has some power. He's a big dude. And then he's got a mean squeeze. Serkinov should probably get like a Manua or Shogun. Because Shogun's still in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, beat Corey Anderson recently. One of those two guys next with Krylov. I'd actually like to see Krylov versus like Antonio Rogerio Nogueira or something like that. Like, give him some pretty higher up guys that he could beat. Is he, he's actually a pretty good prospect. So right after that, Olivier Aubin-Mercier defeated Drew Dober by rear naked choke in the second round. So Aubin-Mercier was doing good in that stand-up for a while, and then he got dropped by Drew Dober, who, like I said, I was saying in the predictions, Drew Dober has found his power. He followed him to the ground, and that was the beginning of the end, because Aubin-Mercier goes for this leg lock. Scramble. Aubin-Mercier gets on top. Once he got on top, dude, I was like, dude, Dober's going to get his back taken. Sure enough, back take, body triangle, rear naked choke. Dude, you do not give up your back to Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Other guys you don't give your back up to, Michael Chiesa, Formiga, who else? Like, there are some expert back takers, and Olivier Aubin-Mercier is really good at taking the back. Maya's another guy, of course, So, this is a good win. This is probably one of his better wins, solid mid-level opponent. He's on a win streak. He's got to start getting into that top 15 now. He's young, he's strong, and, specializes in one part of the game, and he's steadily improving his stamina. Still stiff, but, he has power. So, it's really tough to think who's that mid-level guy. Evan Dunham, maybe? I think Dunham's gonna fight someone. Give him that, like, Monster on Duba, Like, give him that, like, mid-level, that one guy that is, like, totally veteran, that's kind of, like, in that, like, top 15. Let's just see if he can beat those guys. Because he did lose that one fight to Carlos Diego Ferreira. And actually, he lost that fight quite badly, too, Like, Ferreira was just better everywhere. Better striker, better grappler, and that's really, that's quite a feat, because Olivier Aubin-Mercier was a really good grappler. Drew Dober, man. Drew Dober, man. I said, man, this guy's just hot and cold. Like, I think he's improving. I think what I said about putting it all together is true, but even if you put it all together, guys are still gonna be, like, he's still an all-arounder. So it's just like, oh, he's a good striker, he's finding his power, but there are still better strikers than him. His wrestling's improved, but, like, there are better grapplers and wrestlers than him. So, yeah, he's putting it all together, but guys who, especially are specialists, are going to beat him. you know. And in this case, Abin Mercier was actually beating them up in the stand-up for a while. But I assume Drew Dober will still be around. He's a good test for fighters, good mid-level guy. Some more mid-level guys in the division for him. Next fight, that Vivian Pereira defeated Valerie Letourneau by split decision. I honestly thought Valerie Letourneau should have won, personally. But man, this fight sucked. I mean, even Joe Rogan was just like, this is an uneventful fight, and I totally agree. 3 straight losses for Letourneau, and she missed weight. She's probably going to get cut, Vivian Pereira, Daniel Taylor, Sioi Hum, all show why the UFC wouldn't be the worst thing for them to have an atomweight division, because you do have young talent, you have good talent, too small for strawweight, but are still good talents. Um, there isn't much about this fight that impressed me about Pereira, but she can get better. She's still young. But she's always going to have this problem with the height disparity and whatnot, with the size disparity, until the UFC brings the 105 division, women's 105. Because I can't really say, she was actually countering Letourneau pretty good in the later rounds. Even took her down with the body, through the clinch. But man, the Letourneau just looked like crap as the fight kept going on. Like I said, first round looked great. Second round, okay, maybe she took it. And third round, she just looked terrible. I mean, it's just like, I don't know what happened to her. His heart's not into it. I don't know. She should not have been losing to like someone with such an obvious size disadvantage and experience disadvantage. I mean, there's just unless her heart's just not into fighting anymore. Like, and it's not like Pereira was particularly dangerous either. She wasn't rocking Letourneau. She didn't really threaten with subs or anything like that. I mean, like she just looked bad. I don't know what to say. Pereira, despite more lower to mid-tier women of the division, and Letourneau, would not surprise me if she's cut. As far as that, Matthew Lopez defeated Mitch Gagnon by unanimous decision. Gagnon managed to drop Lopez. If the ref stopped the fight right there because he was pounding away, I would have been fine with that. And honestly, Mitch Gagnon made a big mistake because he should have kept pounding away after he dropped him. He kept pounding, and he stopped to take the back or something like that. Lopez, too good of a scrambler, much better wrestler, and a better gas tank. That really got him to win here. Standing, Lopez still needs some work. I mean, he gets hit. He rushes in a lot, which is really bad. The fact that he got dropped the way he did too and almost finished, something's got to change as far as his defense goes. But this was a good win. I didn't actually expect him to get this win. But he fought a tough veteran guy. So just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for both. Next fight on the Fight Pass prelims, Lando Venata defeated John McDessie by knockout. It was a spinning heel kick, right? Spinning wheel kick in the first round. Lando Venata, man, after he beat Tony Ferguson, or not beat, after he fought Tony Ferguson and looked really good. He came out and did this, and it's like, okay. I'm actually surprised he's fighting at 155. I think that he'd be better suited at 145. He's real awkward, such an awkward striker. His timing is just really weird. Made it kind of hard for McDessie. McDessie is also just small, and he wants to box with guys, play a range game, work his jab, and it's just not gonna work, against some guys, and he paid for it too. And McDessie historically has shown a really good chin, and for him to just get knocked out the way he did, um, maybe his chin is slowly but surely deteriorating. And yeah, you know, Lando is only what, like 24. Good prospect, you know. It's gonna get better. Just get more lower to mid guys in the division. McDessie, trying to get McDessie some more action fights, really, because that's the only role I really see him at this point in the game. So after that, Rustam Habilov defeated Jason Sago by unanimous decision. Uh, it's gonna be really hard to out grapple Hobby Love, and he can generally out grapple his opponents, and he did just that against Jason Sago. Um, Sago, like, he's pretty good if he can take opponents down and whatnot. Striking's just average. Um, excuse me, but Shamalov is just a superior grappler, superior wrestler to a lot of fighters in this division. He called out Kevin Lee. I think that's a good fight. Habilov is on what, a 4-fight win streak. Kevin Lee is on his own win streak, just recently beating Mustafayev. He also beat like Jake Matthews. So I think that's a great fight. I think that's appropriate. It looks like a fight that Kevin Lee is interested in as well. So yeah, I hope that's next for Hobby Love. With Sago, just more lower tier fighters of the division for him. And finally, Dustin Ortiz defeated Zach Makovsky by split decision. Don't really know why it's a split. I thought Dustin Ortiz should have won that fight unanimously. Better scrambler, better clincher. Still not a good range striker. You know, if Makovsky could keep the fight at range, I thought he could have won. Maybe. You know, Makovsky is a good wrestler, but man, everyone at flyweight can scramble. I mean everyone. You know, like Smolk. Whether it's like I'll just name the guys like Borg, Dustin Ortiz, Smolka, Ben Nguyen can scramble a bit, you know, like everyone can scramble to their feet, you know, like that's the thing. Like Makovsky, he has some pretty clean takedowns if he can get them, but you know, it's gonna be hard to hold guys down in this division. It's you know, everyone's just small and scrambly and squirrely. I mean, that's how this division works, you know. Um, Dustin Ortiz needed this win. He kind of stays in that gatekeeper role. And yeah, that's pretty much where he's staying. So just more lower to mid guys in the division for him. So, that's pretty much it for my post-fight analysis for UFC 206. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And please check out my website at www.chrismoldon.com, my author's website, or check out my storytelling podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner, on podcast, SoundCloud, or YouTube. So, that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.